Will you switch to electric? We have a fully electric fleet for your Marina as well.
In terms of what?
Cars, trucks.
So we do almost now. My employees, my employees have Teslas. I've got a Ford Lightning. We tow with a hybrid when we're doing long distance stuff. There's very few times where we use diesel or gas, and that's if we're moving cross country or something. And that's when time is money,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
that's when we're brutally honest about it. But like anything within 200-300 miles, I'll drive my Lightning, stop once for lunch or dinner, and get back on the road. But no, we'll definitely be 100% electric where it makes sense.
Yeah, but there's, like you said, there's use cases, and there's a lot of times where it does make a ton of sense. So what is the full lineup of brands? I know we've kind of bounced around. Point blank, like what are the brands that you're selling today?
Whew. So it's quite a bit. Flux, who we've partnered with, they power the Scouts and Highfields. X-Shore has the big 26-foot Elex and the 21-foot bow rider or cabin cruiser. Vision Marine has a very quickly growing lineup of boats with their 180E powertrain. We've partnered with Candela, which is the cool foiling stuff. Hydroflyer, which has foiling stuff. Halavai's got a pontoon coming out. Elveni in Europe. Rand over there in Copenhagen. Taiga, obviously, Ingenuity, which has some awesome freaking party barges. Voltari, Novolux that we do a lot of repower stuff with. I think that's everybody. It's quite a bit. We try to kind of represent everybody in the space. There's a couple I can't mention yet that we're still working with but we get approached almost daily, if not weekly, with people that are coming to market soon. We just signed with Voltaic Marine. We got a LOI with them. They should have a product coming, I think, at the end of this year, early next year. But a lot of it, for these guys, the manufacturing side of things, they want to reach out to us. A lot of it's for market research, but it's almost becoming overwhelming with how much time it takes to jump on a call, multiple calls to entertain these guys. But we try and represent everybody and be brand agnostic. And that way, when like a client comes to us, their use case, their budget, their needs dictate which route we take them on in terms of boat purchasing. Because the last thing I want to do is represent one manufacturer and force this one product into their use case when it might not make sense completely. So we very much try to be brand agnostic and represent as many boat companies as possible.
I think that's good. Where the market's young, you're doing a great job, educating the public. I mean, I follow you on socials. I see your posts. It seems like an obvious first choice for most, just because, like you said, there's not really. I mean, if any, other people doing this. And I know we've kind of dabbled around this, but are there any, are you friendly with any of these other guys that are sort of making the switch to being a fully EV, electric boat market?
There isn't many of them. We try to chat with everybody we can that's in the space. Our friends, Emo Electric up there in Long Island are awesome. I think they represent Flux right now, and they do a ton of the lower horsepower stuff. Elk Rapids up in Michigan, Signature Yachts up in Seattle, Nautical Ventures down there in southern Florida. But there's not a whole lot out there right now. But we try and talk to everybody we can in the space because we need to work together on this stuff. It's not us against each other. It's us educating the public. And especially when it's not average boat buyers, it's people that aren't boat owners. So it's like we can expand this market. It doesn't have to be this super competitive thing. It's kind of like the early days of the electric car stuff,
I get you. And if let's just say someone's listening right now and they're thinking about getting into the electric boat business, what advice would you give them?
Hold on. If you'd have told me it was going to be this, I don't know, Elon and Alex Hormozi have this thing. It's like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. Like it is an absolute roller coaster, whether you're along the ride for the tariffs, the economy, consolidation of the market, but come well-funded and hang on. But it's going to be really cool looking back a few years from now. And we can, arguably say that we had the biggest impact in the electric boat business in the country. And I'd love for someone else, one of these, Marine Max or some other Goliath to come in here and either buy us or take this and run with it. Cause it would just make my job easier. Education and awareness is the biggest struggle right now. But marketing is the name of the game. And I would say come well-funded, and whatever you think your timeline's going to be, double or triple it, because it is a very slow, painful process. And I tell people we've spent a lot of money learning what not to do over the last 3 years.
Yeah. And I know we talk a lot about the auto segment in this, but that's really the only segment that can even remotely correlate to the marine EV segment. And this is just my opinion and sort of my 10,000 feet looking down on the electrification of the boat business. You look at the past with the car market, right? So there were a ton of electric vehicles that came to market. I mean, Chevy came out with an electric S10, which actually later got recalled. They asked for them all back.
Yeah, the EV1.
Yeah, EV1, the Chevy Bolt. These all came out in a time where supposedly there was some demand. And then all of a sudden, everything changed when Teslas came out. And while I don't know that we've necessarily had our quote unquote Tesla brought to market yet, I do think it's really close. And
Yeah.
it's like one model away from gaining national attention. Now everyone's like, bing, like now it makes sense for everyone.
Yeah.
In a light that wasn't shown previously.
100% agreed, man. I think Purecraft was spearheading a lot of that, and unfortunately didn't make it just because they didn't hit a round of funding. And then I think Arc is getting as more exposure than I think anybody right now. They're
I'm
crushing
excited
it.
about Arc.
Same, and we need a lot of these champions, if you will, to take this and run with it and and get exposure to it. Because that's our biggest problem right now.